So let me use an example, because that all may sound great, but of the 3,000 employees in my company, 1,200 of them clean toilets for a living. That's what they do. They're housekeepers and they're maids. 1,200 of our 3,000 employees clean toilets. How do you have a sense of meaning in cleaning a toilet? You don't. Because the answer is not trying to fool your housekeeping staff into thinking that cleaning a toilet, by the task of cleaning a toilet, creates inspiration and meaning. But I will tell you that in studying hospitals and the healthcare industry, one of the things I learned in 2005 as we put this program in place, and we leaped small buildings in one bound as a company during the downturn. I mean, we tripled our revenues between 2001 and 2006 in the time where our industry was in very much trouble. What I learned quickly in studying the hospitality business, the healthcare business, is that if you look at nurses in a hospital that's a troubled hospital, the nurses think of themselves as the person with the syringe that creates pain. And it's an environment where they're focused on their job, their task. But if you look at a hospital where the nurses are actually feeling the sense of calling, they are a patient advocate. They have a broader role than just being the person who does this and does that. They actually focus on the impact on the customer or the patient. They focus on the purpose of what the organization does and what they do. So if you want to move people from job to career to calling, move them from task to impact. So let me give you a quick example. We have 1,200 housekeepers. A couple years ago, we took 600 off-site 2 days in a row. 600 one day, and then 600 the next day, the other 600. And we did a whole day-long hangout session where we just had great food, fun games, and then small workshops. And one of the workshops we did that was just sort of odd was we got housekeepers in groups of 7 with one facilitator at the table for each one of them. And again, we're talking about 8 different languages here because 85% of our housekeeping staff have English as a second language. So we grouped them in the groups of 7, and then we asked them a series of interesting questions, including the last question, which was an abstract question, which was, if a Martian came down here and stayed in your hotel tonight and stayed for 2 nights, and after the first night, they went off and saw San Francisco for the day, and then they came back and saw what you had done for them in your normal job of cleaning the room and taking care of things and laying out their amenities in the bathroom and all that. What would they call you if they didn't know your job title? What would they call you? So then we sort of had them brainstorm for a little while, and again, almost 98% of our housekeeping staff is women. So the kinds of things that actually came up were, well, we're the mom away from home. Or we're the Serenity Sisters because we create serenity and we're a sisterhood. Or we're the Clutter Busters. Or we're the Peace of Mind Police. And the process of them thinking about the impact they had started them in the right direction, because what we did is then we had them all come back into a big hall with all 600 of them, and then we had 5 customers get up and tell their story. Because again, what takes people to a calling quickest is understanding the impact you're having on someone else or on the world. So we had 5 customers come up and tell their story. And I'm going to tell you quickly one of the stories. And some of the stories were like, oh, I lost my wedding ring, and I shouted and screamed at everybody on your staff, and then I went home and realized it was in my purse, and and I called, and I felt so badly. But this one story I'm going to tell is actually a particularly topical one, because it was a woman from Denver. There's a woman from Denver who was staying in one of our hotels for about 2 or 3 years. She was about 38, 39 years old. She didn't think she was ever going to get married. She wanted to have kids, and in the miracles of modern medicine, she knew how, as a single woman, she could actually have kids. So she decided to have kids the new way, and and she got pregnant. While she was pregnant, she was staying in the hotel still, and then finally, she needed to have the babies. We didn't see her for about 4 or 5 months, and she took a little bit of time off. She had twins, and she was still here in Denver. She started coming back about 6 months after having the kids. She started actually back at work, started staying with us every month. Then one day, like 5 o'clock on a Thursday, she got a call from her boss saying, I need to see you tomorrow. I need you to fly here tonight to San Francisco. So she flies out. She gets in at the latest time. Or she must have gotten the call around noon, because I think she flew at 5 o'clock. She said hello to all of the staff at the hotel. I'm a little nervous. He's never called me in sort of like on a moment's notice. Next morning, she says hi to everybody as she's going out of the hotel. She goes to her office. They're headquartered in San Francisco, the company, and she walks into her boss's office, and he fires her. And he fires her and tells her all the reasons why he's needed to fire her. And ever since she's had the baby, she's not as good of a worker, and it's all kind of stuff. She walks back to the hotel. She's in a zone, not a good zone, and she goes up to her guest room on the 8th floor. Don't worry, it's nothing like jumping or anything like that. Nothing like that happened. No, I mean, I've told the story before, and people get really. I don't want you to get anxious with the story. But she went up to her guest room. She closed the door, or so she thought she'd closed the door, and she didn't close the door. It was about halfway open, and she started sobbing uncontrollably, thinking about her baby's at home and what she's going to do. And one of our housekeepers was walking by and heard her sobbing and looked into the room and asked if she's okay. She kept sobbing. She went over and she hugged her for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then the housekeeper realized that she needed reinforcements. So she went out and she got 9 other housekeepers to come to the room, and they did a 10-minute group hug between the 10 of them, the 9 housekeepers and the guest. And then the housekeepers went out and got lunch, because it was actually lunchtime then. They got lunch, and the 10 of them actually sat around the room and had lunch together, and she talked. The woman from Denver talked about the experience of having family there for her at a time when she was really troubled. So she flew out from Denver. She's no longer working for that company anymore. She no longer stays at the hotel, but we called her up and said, we want you to come tell your story. So we had 5 of these people tell stories, and the housekeeping staff heard those stories, and they came to realize that the purpose of what they're doing is way beyond cleaning toilets. We're taking care of people who are vulnerable, far away from home. And that's part of what we do. So if you can actually focus on the sense of meaning in what a person does in their work, or what the company or organization does on a more global basis, you're going to help people move up that pyramid. This is a campfire with some of our employees, because one of the things we started doing in 2002, at a time when all of our competitors were canceling Christmas parties or holiday parties, figuring out every way to save money, is we decided to spend a little bit more money. Now, we have definitely looked for ways to save money too, because that's a survival need for a company. But we looked at the idea of, we do management retreats. Why don't we do employee retreats? Why don't we take all of our employees off-site for a day? And that's what we've been doing for 6 years now. Every winter, every single one of our 40 hotels does an all-day off-site, taking all the employees off-site for the day with their managers, and they facilitate a retreat where all the employees talk about, okay, so what is this hotel? Where is it going? What is it that we could do that would actually make it a better experience for our customers? How can we create a better identity refreshment for our customers? What would make it a better place to work for us? And so in essence, we ask our employees to not think of themselves as housekeepers, but to think of themselves as strategists for the hotel. And by thinking that way and having this kind of experience, it allows them to think more broadly.